Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Thunderducky here, late night review, hence the robe, hence everything that seems darker about this. Currently recording this at 12:17 a.m. So if things aren't exactly up to par as you would normally have it, that would be why. Now, let me go ahead and get started with saying that I recently got Netflix back again to watch Rebel Moon, rewatch Breaking Bad, Supernatural, because those are the shows I like. And I don't like CW. I don't want to support CW. So I re-got Netflix. I probably won't have Netflix for very long because of previous statements I've made with their viewpoint as far as Sound of Freedom goes. I don't know if you heard that, but if you did, I apologize. Had a couple. If you all haven't, and you're of age, of course, make sure you try out the Daniels. The Daniels is really good. The Daniels is where I started. It's where I'll finish myself, apparently. And yeah, let's start with the Rebel Moon review. Characters were fine. None of them stood out. None of them were to a point that I would consider one iconic. Ed Skrein, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Ed Skrein, I don't know. Did pretty good as the main villain. He was no Darth Vader, but he did pretty good. As far as character goes, I mean, he wasn't fleshed out as most villains are for movies, so I didn't really connect with him necessarily. But as far as characters go throughout this entire movie, he was the best. Now, let's go ahead and get into some context whenever it comes to this movie. So, we had Star Wars, right? We had New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Then we had Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. And depending on who you ask, we had The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not one of those people that recognizes the sequel trilogy. Sequel trilogy was ass. Story-wise, was ass. The story didn't catch me. Now, I will fully admit, I still like The Force Awakens. I think that was an okay movie, especially when you look at the trilogy. Last Jedi, hate it. Rise of Skywalker, definitely hate it. But The Force Awakens, I still like. Because what it did is it encapsulated the original trilogy in one film. One. And the reason why I like that is a lot of people these days, in the modern times, are not going to go back and watch the original trilogy. So the fact that J.J. Abrams was able to encapsulate the original trilogy so well in one film really worked for me. So I still like it. It's the only one out of the sequel trilogy that I bought. I won't buy The Last Jedi. I will never buy Rise of Skywalker. As a matter of fact, those last two films do not make it when I think of Star Wars. If I think of Star Wars, those two are definitely not in there. The only movie Disney ever did that works for me as far as Star Wars is concerned is Rogue One. Rogue One was fantastic, and I'm not just talking about the Darth Vader scene. I like the espionage behind it. I like the spy aspect behind it. I like Mads Mikkelsen in the movie. He was fantastic. I like the squad, team that is built. I like the fact that we get to see Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Fantastic. But it's still Disney. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Disney whenever it comes to Star Wars. Ahsoka sucked. Bad Batch sucked. The last season of Clone Wars was decent. Only like 4 episodes stood out. The first 2 and the last 3, so maybe 4 to 5 episodes were decent. And yeah, that's as far as Disney goes whenever it comes to, Star Wars. But the reason why I bring up Star Wars is Rebel Moon was supposed to be Zack Snyder Star Wars. So if you don't know, a little backstory. Zack Snyder went to Lucasfilm, or he went to Disney, and he's like, hey, I have an idea for a trilogy. That's right, 3 films, where I think this could work for Star Wars. And Disney or Kathleen Kennedy or whoever said no. But Netflix was like, yeah, let's do it. Make it your own franchise, make it your own thing, and then we'll go ahead and we'll promote it, sponsor it, create it, the whole 9 yards. So he did that, and we got part 1, which just came out. It might be a month as to right now, as of the time of recording this, and then we got part 2. I believe is in April or March. First one's called A Child with Fire, or A Child of Fire, which I watched with my brother. And then the next part, I don't even remember the name off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up, and I'm recording a video. So, my laptop's either recording a video or streaming. You don't get to do anything extra. And the movie was very boring. It wasn't boring in the necessary sense that it was boring. It was boring in the sense that it seemed like the movie didn't know what it wanted to do. We had the story of the main character, female, and her sub-character, with the protagonist being Ed Skrein, trying to form a resistance against this empire. But then you had the Indian guy trying to bring in the Griffin. You had Charlie Human? I don't remember his last name. Trying to be the scoundrel who's also the backstabber that turns them into the empire. You had the female Asian chick who tried to be like the spiritual higher power character, along with the Jedi aspect, with red swords, by the way, not the blue that we typically associate with Jedi. And then we had the robot. The robot! Oh my gosh. The robots or droids? Robots for Rogue One. Or robots for Rebel Moon is what I meant. And droids for Star Wars. We had Anthony fucking Hopkins. At least I think that was Anthony Hopkins. Again, I wasn't really paying attention because I was really bored with the movie. Voiced the droid, the one and only droid that we saw in this entire movie. And he was thrown to the wayside. We got an introduction with him whenever the Empire arrived on the planet, the farming planet, that the main character and her sidekick were on. That was it. And then we got him at the end of the movie. We never really got any context with him, which we might get in the second part, but I highly doubt it. We didn't really get anything with him that was groundbreaking or impactful for the story. Like all the characters were bland and boring as fuck. The only one side character that stood out was the Indian character, the slave, the one who was kind of a traitor to the mother world or the empire for this series. The spirit guy. Because he kind of, ran off the side of a cliff and jumped on the Griffin. And then, tamed the Griffin, who was kind of untamable. Which was the spirit, Disney flick from when I was growing up. So the Disney Indian. He was really the only one that stood out. The other characters I could give a flying fuck about. I mean, you had the Asian chick with the red lightsabers that fought the spider chick who wanted to have a kid because her other kids were destroyed or, whatever. Didn't really click with me. And then one of the other things that really stood out for me is the past tech and the future tech. We had all these like stairs and other stuff that seemed old school, like 80s, like walking up a stairway in a aircraft carrier to get to the command deck kind of feel. Didn't have escalators, didn't have any like teleportation type shit. We didn't have anything that spewed future other than the spaceships. And then we didn't have anything like clothing wise. Like we had the main character that played a villain, the main villain, Ed Skrein. Or Skrein. Again, I don't know how to say his name. If I'm butchering it, I apologize, because I really like him. He's really good. Other than Matthew Marsden, who's been, blacklisted for Hollywood because of his political views. Ed Skrein's pretty good as a villain. Now, he was in a suit and tie. A historically accurate suit and tie based around a German force in the 1930s to 1950s, just to encompass the whole window. It didn't fit. I mean, Darth Vader had, a counter on his chest that monitored, like, breathing, blood flow, whatever the fuck it kept track of. It was a futuristic view. It didn't have the, backwardsness of just a suit and tie. Military suit and tie that this movie had. So the old and the new kind of conflicted for me. But again, the characters were boring as shit. I don't care about any of them. None of them had a backstory that I cared about. All of them were basic. All the ones we've seen before, none of them were demonstrated in a way where I needed to give a fuck to watch the movie. Or in this context, to review the movie. Which made the movie extremely boring. As a matter of fact, I don't know if my brother's going to watch this later. If he does, I think I fell asleep within the third act of the movie. You might be able to attest to that if you heard some snoring noises. I snore. I don't give a fuck. It happens to most people. Whatever. The movie was boring. None of it really fit. Basically, we had the main character with her sidekick trying to figure out what team they were going to use to fight the enemy, and then the enemy they ended up killing, and then the enemy got resuscitated by the main villain of the enemy, and then now supposedly the enemy is going to come back to fight the main character and her sidekick, along with the main enemy coming in to support them. It's all messy. The whole movie is messy. To the point where I have no clue why Netflix said, go for it. This movie's a 3 out of 10. I do not recommend it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. If you're wondering why this review was a little bit wonky, it's because, yeah, and I gotta go to work later today. Because it's 12:30 already. I lost track of time. Let me know what you thought about Rebel Moon down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you kind of in the middle of the road? Did you like the characters? Did you hate the characters? Did you like Ed Skrein as the main villain? And I will catch you later in a video or live stream. And I will, of course, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate every like, every comment, every subscription that you guys give me. Let me know if you have a movie or a show you want me to review down below. Catch you later. Bye.